Hi, Miss Sarah again from the Hopeful Sister channel. Today we're going to be getting fancy with point of view. Um, I know everyone has heard of first person point of view, which is pretty much the point of view we use every day when we say, I'm going to the store. I'm going to go buy soy milk. You know, these are the usage of the word I is indicative of the first person. Pretty much everybody knows that. Um, but then we also talk about the second person, which is when we're reading something and the author uses the word you or your. They're directly talking to the reader. This is rare, but it still happens, and that's called the second person. There's also the third person, he or she, which is most things are written in third person. Then we talked about the word. Here's where we start getting a little fancy. We're talking about the word omniscient. 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 This word literally translates to mean all-knowing. So we're gonna automatically assume that the narrator knows everything about all the characters in the story if he's all-knowing. So when you see the word omniscient, he knows everything. Like, he knows about this character, that character, the character that's coming in chapter 17, like, and he knows everything about them from their past history, flashbacks, everything. So that's what's meant by an omniscient narrator. And then there's a thing called limited omniscient, because he knows everything about one character in the story. So the story has like multiple points of view, but the narrator only knows everything about one character's story. Therefore, his omniscience, his all-knowingness, his godlike qualities are limited to that one character. So we're going to talk a little bit about third-person omniscient. So third-person omniscient, we already talked about the word omniscient, saying all-knowing. So he knows everything, the narrator, about all the characters. So what's usually any story that has a third person omniscient narrator is a story that has multiple points of view in the book. So right off the bat, you can eliminate any book that's talking from first person, or any book that you don't know the other points of view at all. It's taken from one person's point of view, and it talks about that character the whole time and how the character thinks, feels, and is and operates in the story is totally based on their point of view and nobody else's. Then you won't have a third person omniscient narrator at all. So the third person omniscient is only within the story that's told from many points of view, and it becomes evident that this narrator knows everything because he starts talking about like their past history, or he mentioned something in dialogue that wasn't mentioned before that just throws in there. There's a lot of key factors that will let you know that it's third person omniscient. So they're really not as complicated as we would think that point of view is, but just keep it straight. You know, first person, I. Think self, I. Is there a word I in there? If I is in there, then you have first person. Second person, you. Most likely not going to happen. But if you see any author directly draw out the reader and say you or your, that happens rarely, and it doesn't happen for the whole book. It might happen for like a section, so you'd be like, in that section there was a second person thing there. Third person, he or she, is mostly what we're working with, and I would venture to say that most of the books that usually come out, they're not omniscient in that all-knowing narrator, because actually coming from a writing perspective, it's hard to write many points of view. So you would probably stick to limited omniscient, writing the thoughts and feelings of one character, and dwelling on that and using elements and techniques about that. So this has been Getting Fancy with Point of View with Miss Sarah at the Hopeful Sister channel. Feel free to check out some other videos, like the ones on homophones, and see you next week.